Good morning, everybody. We go to the Chitas of today. Today is Friday, which is the sixth reading of the portion of Bahar, which is on chapter 25, verse 39. B'chiyamach achicha imach. And if your brother becomes destitute with you, v'nimkalach, and because he became so destitute that he sold to you, Loisavad avedas eved. Do not work him with slave labor. Do not treat him like a regular slave. Rashi says denigrating work, which make him look like a slave, even though truthfully he is a slave, because that's the law. If he sold himself as a slave, he becomes a slave. But a person should not do that to him. He must not carry his clothes after him to the bathhouse, or put on his shoes for him. Shouldn't do that to him. Verse 40, as an employee, he's even though he's sold to you as a slave, but really you should treat him as an employee. He works for you until you're able, because he's not a slave. A real slave is somebody who becomes a slave forever. But a Jewish slave can never become a slave forever. Either 6 years, or ultimately the maximum amount is 49 years, to the 50th year. So if the year of Jubilee, Rashi said, occurs within the 6 years of a servitude that elapsed, the Jubilee immediately takes him out. So even if a slave was sold, usually the minimum is 6 years, but if suddenly in between the 6 years, not suddenly, you knew when you sold him that in the third year of his slavery, he's going to be Jubilee, he's going to go out anyway. So he even won't be a slave for those 6 years. He'll go out on the year of Jubilee. He goes out from you. Him and his children go out with you. He turns to his family. But as chuzas of his Yosher, he turns to the stature of his fathers. Very interesting pasuk. Rashi says, okay? What is the meaning of the verse? Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon Bayachai. Rab Shimon Bayachai said, if he was sold, who sold his children? What do you mean his children? That scriptures say that his children go free with him. His children are not slaves. However, from here we learn that a master is obligated to provide the food for his children. When you buy a slave, a Jewish slave, now you're responsible not only to support the slave, you have to support the entire mishpucha, the entire family. And that's why once the slave is freed, now you don't have an obligation not to this person and not to his family. What does it mean he returns to his father? What does that mean? To his father's former honor. He must not be denigrated. You're not allowed to remind a person, oh, you became a slave because you were destitute, you're shlamazel, whatever. You're not allowed to mention to a person's past. You should never do that. Person, whatever he goes through and ultimately he comes back to himself, nobody should ever remind him his previous hardships. Chapter 40, verse 42. For they are my servants. That I've taken the Jewish people out of the land of Mitzrayim. They shall not be sold as a slave is sold. What does that mean? My contract comes first. I took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, so they're slaves to me, so to say. They become obligated to me and not to anybody else. So therefore, you cannot be a real slave. You cannot go into the real category of slavery by selling yourself as a Jewish slave, because you're already booked to somebody else. You have a responsibility to somebody else, to God. Verse 43, shall not work him with vigor, you shall fear your God. Rashi says unnecessary jobs for purpose of tormenting him. Meaning not say to him, warm up this drink for me. when you do not need it. Oh, you my vine, I want you to cut my vine until I come back. And you may never come back. Perhaps you'll say, no one really knows whether it's necessary or not. And I say that it's necessary. This matter is held secretly in man's heart, for no one knows his true intention. Therefore, the Torah says, maybe nobody knows your intention, but I know your intention. Verse 44. From the nations of the world that want to sell themselves as slaves, that you're allowed to buy as slaves. Mehem tikna, that's a slave. If the nations of the world want to sell themselves as slaves, and you want to buy them as slaves, that is a concept of slaves, but not a Jewish slave. Now she says, if you might say, if so, that I may give my Jewish servant only skilled labor to do, who will I use? Who's going to do who's going to clean the garbage? Over my Jewish servant, I do not have the real power, and I must treat him like a hired employee. And the seven nations who lived in Israel, I'm sorry, the 7 nations lived, I'm not allowed to possess a slave. But I was warned, you're not allowed to let them live. So who will serve me as a slave? Who's going to do the hard labor? Same problem in Israel today. Meisa Goyim. You have to hire for the nations of the world. I'm not telling you can't hire. Asher Seichem, but not those of the 7 Canaanite nations, but those that are the borders of your land. For indeed, regarding them, I said, you shall not let them live. The 7 nations who lived in the land of Israel, you have to totally destroy. So you have to go and get slaves, worker, hard labor, to those that are going to do strong work. You're going to have to go and get it from the nations around. Also from the children of the residents that live amongst you, the Ger Toshev, remember she mentioned the residents, those that are residents that live amongst the Jewish people and accept upon themselves not to worship any idols, etc. The 7 Noahide laws. From then, if they want to sell themselves as slaves, tiknu, because if they want to sell themselves, they have the right to sell themselves as a slave. And from them, you shall buy slaves. And their families are with them. That have children in your land. And now, once you buy a slave, a non-Jewish slave can sell himself forever. He doesn't have the laws of Jubilee by a non-Jewish slave. If he wants to sell himself forever, he can sell himself forever. So Rashi says, who come from the surrounding lands to marry women in your land, who subsequently brought children to them, to a non-Jewish people. In these cases, the lineage of the child follows the father. And thus does not fall in the commandment, you shall not allow the soul to live. So if a guy comes from out of the country, marries a person in the country, even for the 7 nations, but if you marry them, now they're not considered part of the 7 nations because it goes after the father. For the Jewish people, the law goes after the mother. But the nations of the world, the Pitayra goes after the father. Mehem tiknu. This might mean that you may acquire slaves by buying from their slaves. However, the true meaning is you may acquire them, the residents, children, as slaves. And they can become slaves forever. They have the right to sell themselves as slaves forever. A Jew does not have this right. But a non-Jewish person has the right to sell themselves forever because they don't have the law of Yovel. And now they become slaves to you and they become slaves to your children. They become an everlasting slavery. And they become slaves. They do servitude. But when you hire a slave of the Jewish people, it's not really slavery. It's the concept of an employee. You're in essence hiring an employee, like giving a person a job. So you're giving a person a job, and that's it. The job, then you have to treat him differently than a person that's a slave. You see the mefarach, you're not allowed to give them, you're not allowed to treat them like a slave to do hard labor. So Rashi says, you shall not hold them into inheritance to your children. You shall hold them, a non-Jewish slave can become an everlasting slave. You shall hold them hold them into them as an inheritance to your children after you. But it be incorrect to explain to bequeath them to your children. For if it's so, then the scripture could have said, you should salach them, just like vischazaktem. So too, here the verse visnachaltem must be considered not to be causative, but rather flexitive. It means you should keep them as an inheritance. It's like that's basically a automatic situation. Ishba actually, you're not allowed to, but as for your children of Israel, shall not work his brother with rigor. But has this prohibition regarding Jewish servant not already been stated? We already stated in verse 43. Mizrahi, it is repeated here to include in the prohibition a leader over his people and a king over his attendants, and these rules must not work with vigor. A rabbi or a teacher is not allowed to make his students, don't overwork his students. And a king is not allowed to treat the Jewish people as slaves. And that completes the Chumash of today. Now go to the Tanya of the day. Alter Rebbe goes and continues in chapter 49. And Alter Rebbe was explaining the blessings of the Shema. So he's explaining the first blessing of the Shema, which is the blessing that we say concerning the angels, Srafim, the fiery angels, all the angels above who search godliness. Kodesh, Kodesh, but they say God is holier than us. Where can we find God in reality? And the answer is, Baruch Shem Kaveh Malchus Elolam V'ad. The Eibishter says, go to the world. So that first inspires us. How all these angels of the heavens are also in the search of godliness, and even the angels that from these angels come about Chayes, which is the animal angel, the animal forcing angel, come out from them the animalistic soul. Then following the second comes the second blessing. What's the second blessing? Avas Olam, which is God's great love. If you read that blessing, beautiful blessing, is the love of God to the Jewish people. So notwithstanding with the lofty service and subjugation of all the heavenly angels, God saw fit to set them all aside. And God says, I know that I have thousands upon billions of angels that serve me, and they are unbelievable. They do exactly what I say, and they have, because I don't rejoice. So they do exactly what I say, but I put that all aside. I'm not interested in robots or entities that have no choice. I love the Jewish people. Avas Olam Haftanu Hashem Elokeinu. That's how the blessing starts. Lord our God, you have loved us with an everlasting love. And go through that blessing, a beautiful blessing, how the Eibishter loves every Jew. And he wants us, and that's why he wants us, Lishma, to follow the commandments and to do what it was told, because all out of his love to us. And he gave us the Torah, and he gave us mitzvahs, all because he loves us. The Eibishter put aside all the supernal angels and all the supernal worlds, the heavenly angels, for they are not the ultimate intent of creation. The ultimate intent of creation is this world and a Jew, me, in this world. The Eibishter, the Shekhinah dwells upon us. The angels say, where is the Shekhinah? Where is the presence of God? And God says that my presence resides in every Jew. And that's what we call our God, like it belongs to me. It's ours. It's mine. Elokei Avram, as we say, the God of Abraham, as mentioned above. So Abraham was completely nullified to God to the same degree that God is called the God of Abraham. He's also called our God. This is accomplished, explained earlier, through the performance of mitzvah. So every Jew that does a mitzvah or that learns Torah, we become Elokeinu. We can say Elokeinu. We can say this is our God. because we have the Hashras HaSchina, we have the presence of God in our midst. How is that possible? Because we said before, Ava impels the flesh. Love affects concealment and contraction. So too did God love for his people bring about a certain contraction in that he caused that the service of the Jewish soul in the state in which they are found here below, enclosed in a physical body and a finite world. The Eibush says, I'm going to contract myself. The angels, I'm not going to contract myself for the angels. I'm going to want to come into a Jew. I want to come into every Jew. I want to come, first of all, into them. I give them an neshama, which is a chelik elokah, a part of God. And I want to come part of every physical thing they do. I want to become part of every spiritual thing they think. I want to become part of them. Why? Because Ava, I am ready to contract myself because of this love. So this is one of the Alter Rebbe says, usually Ava is expansion, but Ava has contraction, true Ava. If I truly love the other person, then I'm willing to contract myself. I'm willing to humble myself. I'm willing to make space for the other person because I love the other person. And I love the other person, a true love. I don't love myself. That's why Ava is expansion. Something has no place for another person because the Ava is based on me. But true Ava, if it's based on somebody else, then true love has within it Gevura, has within it contraction, because I love you. The Eibishter, who is infinite, says, because I made you finite, and I love you, and I want to be part of you, I need to contract myself. I need to be able to become part of you. The truth is, we should learn from God what love is. The Gemara says we should truly learn from God what love is. We should truly learn from God what mercy is. We should learn from God what kindness is. Because God showed a true act of love, a true act of kindness, that the God that is infinite became part of a finite being. Hashras HaSchina. That's the inyan that caused the Shechina to dwell within amongst us. The Eibishter says the expression, I dwell within your impurity. Hashechin itamitech tumasam. I dwell even in your impurity. That, how do we become impure? Our free choice. So the Eibishter says it doesn't make a difference. I love you so much, even in your impurity, I'm part of you. That's true love, because it's about the other entity. And that's why we should learn Ava from God, who is willing to have love because the other person, even in a situation of whatever situation the other person is. If I need to only have love that the other person fits my agenda, that's my, ultimately it's about me. It's not about the other person, it's about me. And that's not true Ava. That is chesed, that is concept of kindness and it's love, but it's not true love. It's ultimately selfish love. That's what you should understand also, why it says Avram, why it starts off with Abraham and the verse ends off, the blessing ends off Magin Avram. Because the greatness of Abraham was symbolic to chesed, but he still had he did his chesed because he loved the Eibush, not because he loved himself. And that's what we emphasize. Elokei Avram, you see always the Alter Rebbe, Elokei Avram, it says Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. But Abraham was symbolic of chesed, that he did his chesed, not because he was a lover, because he loved God. That's a great accomplishment. And that's why the blessing ends off, Magen Avram, the shield of Abraham. Because Abraham shows what real chesed is. Most of us have chesed. We all have kindness. There's a lot of strings attached. The second somebody abuses our kindness, we're out. Because it's ultimately about us. We should learn from Abraham, who was chesed, and did kindness because he wanted to have a relationship with God. It was not about him. He said Hineni because his chesed was for the other. So to our chesed should be real chesed and kindness and love for the other. Has nothing to do with me because it has to do with the other. Even though it comes from me, it's my Abba. But there has to be total bittul. Then my Abba is the chekes abasa. Then my Abba is contracting. My Abba has space. I have such love for somebody else. I don't care if he's standing in my space. I don't care if he's standing on my feet. Because I have Abba for him. And my Abba contracts me. My Abba humbles me. That's understand why it's called the Ava. Ava said literally a love of the world. So here we difference between the way the Alter Rebbe wrote the Siddur and the way the world says this. The world says Ava Rabba. You're an Ashkenazic Jew, you'll know that. Ava Rabba, that's how they say the beginning of this second blessing. The Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur, Avas Olam. The Eibishter loves the world. Ava Rabba means a great love. Great love, above the world. Over here, the Alter Rebbe put the wording Avas Olam. The Eibishter loves the world. For the Eibishter to love the world, the Alter he needed humility, so to say. He needed to contract himself. For the Eibishter to truly love this world, to God that's infinite, to love a finite thing, he had to have a great love. The expression, it says, where do you find the greatness of God? Where you find his humility. And the truth is, that's the way it should be by everyone. Where do you find the greatness of a person? When you find his humility. Or you find another expression in Pirkei Avos. A person that runs after honor, honor runs away from him. A person that runs away from honor, honor runs after him. Because that's true honor. When a person is humble, that's where honor comes into reality. That's where the situation is real. The Eibishter showed a Avas Olam. He showed a great love. She bechinas tzimtzum oirei. The Eibishter God showed an unbelievable love that he was willing to contract himself with great and infinite life by assuming the garb of finitude. God is infinite. Came into a finite individual to come into the world. You understand what kind of love that is? That's where you see the greatness of God. That God, that's why most people say God is above the world. Oh, God is greater than the world. God is, how can we say that God is in the world? God is too great for the world. But where do you see the greatness of God? In his, so to say, humility. In his, so to say, the concept of his love for the finite world. And why do you do that for? What is important to me? Because I am not the world. Ba'avur avas am Yisrael. He did it all for the sake of his love for the Jewish nation. The whole world was created for the sake of the love of the Jewish people. The Eibishter chose the Jewish nation. To bring him closer to him, that they might be absorbed into his blessed unity and oneness. How? Through Torah mitzvahs. He gave us the Torah. And this is therefore we say in that second blessing, we say Chemla Gedela. A little later on the same blessing of Avos Olam, it says, with exceedingly abundant compassion. There you see the compassion of God. God's love and God's compassion. Meaning more than you have bestowed upon others, you have bestowed upon us. The Eibishter had compassion on the Jewish nation. The Eibishter, God has compassion on us. Namely, a compassion exceedingly the nearness of God towards all the hosts of above. God's nearness to them comes out of his sense of compassion for them. This can be in no way compared to compassion God feels for us, for which reason he draws us close to him. God, in essence, says, you want to find me? You're going to find me in a Jew. You're going to find me in a mitzvah a Jew does. Why? Because I have such unbelievable love and compassion more than I have compassion to you. The same blessing of Ahavas Selim that goes on to say, Ubanu v'charta. In that blessing, in that whole second blessing, it says, you have chosen us. We call Am V'Lashik. Not only from all the angels above, you have chosen us from every nation and all tongues. Who are gufa chumri. What are we saying? We're saying that God chose our physical body. He didn't choose our neshama, because the nations of the world don't have the godly soul. So therefore, when he say that, he was saying that God chose the physical body. Which is a corporal, just like the body of every other nation. So true freedom of choice. This is an important concept of learning. True freedom of choice only comes when one has two completely equal choices. When two things, however, are unequal, one does not freely choose one over the other. The quality found in one, lacking in the other, compels a choice. It is therefore impossible to say you choose the Jewish people in reference to the Jewish soul. For there can be no comparison between a Jew and a non-Jewish soul, and so much a Jewish soul is a part of God above. Rather, when we sing on Yontiv, or when we say this expression, Ahavas Selim, every day, we say, you've chosen us. What are we talking about? You've chosen the Jewish material body, which is corporality is similar to bodies of a non-Jew. God freely chose Jewish bodies to be the proper receptacle for the Jewish soul, desiring that through the deeds performed by the body, for all physical mitzvahs demand bodily participation, a Jew should become united with him. This is the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain. First, continuing to quote from Ahavas Selim, the Kerav Tanu, and you brought us near, etc. Lahoidos, to give thanks. What does that mean? The interpretation of thanks will be given elsewhere, where the quality of a nation found in thanksgiving will be explained. The Jewish people are called Yehudim. We're called Jews. In Hebrew, it's called Yehuda. Yehuda is the concept of Haidah, recognition. Recognition. A Jew recognizes this concept. A Jew recognizes the importance, the responsibility, the love that he has to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we continue to proclaim your oneness. The whole purpose over here is that we become one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's that mean? Likalel b'yichudi yisbarach, which means to be observed in his blessed unity. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the unity that we can have with God. Keniskalel, as mentioned above. So the Alter Rebbe is going to continue, because you'll have to do the chitas, you'll have to continue the chitas tomorrow by yourself as we go into Shabbos. So it's a beautiful Tanya, and the Alter Rebbe just explained to us already the two blessings. So Mir Shem, when you daven Shachas today or tomorrow, you're going to say these blessings. Think about these things. Read it, understand these blessings when you read it. So you'll see how whatever the Alter Rebbe taught us in these two blessings, how it so fits perfectly in the way the Alter Rebbe wants to explain to us how to awaken up our love to God by talking to ourselves, to realizing what he's saying there, that everything, the way the Eibishter loves the angels and the angels love God, then we continue the love of the Eibishter to this world, and especially within this world. Within the world, within the physical world. So God loves to begin with the physical world. And within this physical world, God has put a purpose to the physical world, and that is a Jew by a Jew doing Torah mitzvahs, that ultimately that's the ultimate love that the Eibishter has, that a Jew accomplishing in this world, the yichud, the oneness, through Torah and mitzvahs, which brings about this unity between us and God, and every mitzvah we do brings about this unity between us and the Eibishter. That's going to create a great love. We'll run to do a mitzvah. Not only will do a mitzvah, we'll run to do a mitzvah. We'll run to learn Torah because we'll realize the power, the expression, the accomplishment, the revelation, the unity that is accomplished through every mitzvah we do, through every act of learning that we do. Alter Rebbe, explained also in other places that every mitzvah is called a tzedakah. The Gemara calls every mitzvah tzedakah. What are you doing tzedakah to? You're doing tzedakah to the world. Every mitzvah that you do, you're doing a tzedek to the world. You're doing a tzedakah. You're doing the purpose what the Eibishter created, that physical thing. You're doing a pasha tzedakah to the world. And that completes the Tanya of today. Today is the 19th day of the month, which is chapter 90 through 96. If you're going to do chapter 90 through 96, you would have done the chitas of the day. I want to wish you all a wonderful Shabbos. As I said, hopefully you will continue, finish the chitas, the Shabbos, the portion of tomorrow, the seventh reading, and Amid Hashem, the Tanya of the day. And we'll see you Amid Hashem on Sunday at 8 a.m., which we are going to learn together the last portion in the book of Vayikra. Next week, we'll finish the book of Leviticus. And we'll continue, Be'ezat Hashem, saying Chazak, Chazak, as we finish next week the third book of the Torah, learning together the third book of the Torah. I wish you a beautiful Shabbos, and may we all be blessed with happiness and joy.